So today on BKRsport, we're going to be starting off our reviews for the 2024 season in the NRL. Obviously, we've got 17 teams to go through here. It's going to be 17 individual videos that we do go over everything that has happened in the 2024 season with each individual team. I'm really looking forward to it because obviously we can knuckle down and see where the problems arose and obviously really see what went wrong for a lot of these teams and what went right for a lot of the teams that weren't expected to necessarily be up there. And today, we are going to be focusing on the team that did unfortunately come last in 2024, which is the West Tigers, a team that has now won 3 wooden spoons in a row, which is something that nobody ever wants. Obviously, the Newcastle Knights did it in the mid-2010s, and the Tigers have followed suit. And actually, unfortunately, in the mid-2010s, it was actually the Knights and the Tigers, and I feel like maybe the Eels as well, but the Knights and Tigers that were playing in those spoon bowl-y kind of games that the Tigers would always kind of find a way to win, or that just the Tigers would hold themselves away from that spoon whilst the Knights would get it. So it's been a long, unfortunate over a decade now, about 13 years now, since the Tigers were last in the finals and were last a team that really did start to threaten and really did threaten to the top of the comp and being in the top 8. And although there's been a couple of years where they have finished 9th or 10th, overall it has been a really disappointing decade or so for the club. Now, obviously, as you guys can see here, like I said, they did finish in 17th. As we do know with the West Tigers, they played in the Spoon Bowl at the end of the season against Parramatta Eels, who do have a good history in regards to Spoon Bowls, actually, because they played the Gold Coast Titans in 2011, and they won that one, and then obviously won this one too, which put the Tigers into a situation that really was unfortunate on a significant level in regards to the confidence that a lot of people were having in regards to them being a better team in 2025. You know, obviously going into that game, I believe they were favourites. If they weren't favourites, they were just underdogs there at Campbelltown Stadium, and got whooped. They got absolutely whooped in that game. What was the score here? It was a 60-26 at home, in a big game for them. You know, although you see teams like the Storm and the Roosters and all these teams at the top, Panthers, playing in these big games that actually mean a lot in regards to the finals and positioning on home finals and whatnot, this was a big game in the context of the West Tigers to really kind of push out of this little era that they've had and try to put themselves into a positive step going into 2025, where they do have a few signings that obviously we will talk about today. But that was unfortunately a real big sealer in how their season has gone, right? So I did want to start off by saying this because it would have been a completely different analysis and discussion if they had have won that game. Even if they had have lost that game in a tight margin, it would have been very different because you would have seen the effort there, you would have seen the adjustment of culture, you would have seen this team doing everything they possibly can to really push forward into 2025 to adjust the West Tigers going forward. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Now, they were 2 points short of both the Rabbitohs and the Eels, but you can see there that their points differential was by far and very clear the worst points differential in the competition, with minus 287, the next worst being minus 188 for the Rabbitohs, and then the Eels minus 155. A lot of that obviously having to do with the significant margin that the Eels won by in that last game. But with that being said, there is still a very polar difference between the 3 clubs there. And then you go have a look at the Titans there, minus 168 as well. That's unfortunate as well. Obviously, I'm a Gold Coast Titans fan. But the point of the matter is that even these teams down there that have these really awful points differentials, the Tigers very clearly separated themselves from the pack in regards to when they lose, they could lose and probably would lose quite well. They did win a couple of games here and there. They won 6 games throughout the season, but they also had 18 losses, which again is one more loss and one less win than the others, so it's not a drastic difference there. But again, they would have needed to win 2 of those to be above them, or at least, I know it came down to the last one with the Eels, but the point of the matter is that they would have needed 2 wins to go above based off of their points differential. And then even with that, they would have still been, you know, below the Titans there and still in that bottom 3. So a really, really tough year to really look at there for West Tigers as they do look to move into this new time frame. You go back to the beginning of the year, they actually started off relatively well. So they had the bye first up, and then they lost it to 12 to the Raiders. I remember this game. The Tigers weren't actually that bad in the first half, got blown away in the second half. Actually, let's just quickly confirm that. Actually, no, it was all the first half, not the second half. So I don't really remember that game. Forgive me. Okay, they were better in the second half where they didn't concede a whole heap of points. But obviously that was a worrying sign early doors. But they were effectively 1-1, but they were 0-1 based on the fact that it was a bye. But then they went and absolutely flogged the Sharkies at Leichhardt Oval, 32-6, and won 17-16 over the Eels there, which was a pretty impressive win at the time because we didn't think the Eels would be as bad as they were in 2024. So they started off the season 2-1, but with the bye 3-1, and Tigers fans were starting to get a little bit hopeful. They were starting to think, okay, well maybe we are adjusting. Maybe our brand new coach, Benji Marshall, is going to start getting the best out of this club. He's going to start changing that culture. He's going to start really bringing back the winning mentality that was at West Tigers in his time when they won a premiership in 2005 with Benji Marshall. But unfortunately after that, they lost the Dolphins, the Dragons, the Panthers, the Broncos, the Bulldogs, the Knights, the Dolphins again, the Cowboys, had the bye, got whooped by the Dragons, and that was a really tough stretch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 losses in a row after they started the season effectively 3-1, right? That's just simply not good enough. That's nearly 2.5 months. That's nearly 2.5 months of rugby league. And then yes, obviously they beat my Titans, and again, I will put this out there, I don't believe the Tigers were good in that game. It's just the Titans really wanted to lose that game. If you remember that game at Leichhardt Oval, I obviously was there. It wasn't that the Tigers did anything crazy because it was like 9 line breaks for the Titans to 1, and the Titans dominated a lot of the stats, but the Titans very clearly just weren't in that game whatsoever, and the Tigers came over top in the end, and they got a good win against the Raiders right after that, which was good. But then they fell back into losing ways. Lost to the Roosters by a massive margin, got 40 points again to the Storm, got 58 points to the Sharks, 42 points to the Rabbitohs, who I believe could have been last at the time, or definitely were around that. Lost to the Warriors, got 48 points to Cowboys, 34 points to the Knights, got a win against the Rabbits and Manly, to put themselves into the hunt to avoid that spoon, and then they got thumped by the Eels. So it's not really that much of a topsy-turvy season. When they won, they would win like 2 games in a row. Because you go have a look. You go back to the start, they won against the Sharks and they won against the Eels, and then they went on a 9-game losing streak. And then they won against the Titans and they won against the Raiders, and they went on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game losing streak, and then they won 2 games in a row, and then they lost again, right? So they never were able to get consistency with their wins, and it would be victories together very scarcely throughout the season. So they were consistent in their streak of losing, and would go bang bang, and they would be consistent in their streak of losing again. So where does that come from? I'm not too sure. It showed that they did have ability, especially when you 36-6 against a team that finished in the top 4 this year at Leichhardt Oval. That's really impressive. And I know the Eels ended up playing pretty poorly throughout the season and were down to the bottom 4, or bottom 3, and could have been last if they had lost that game in the last round. But that's impressive though. These 2 wins at the time were very impressive. They were. And then, like I said, these 2 wins, this one is a bit different in the Titans game, but the one against the Raiders, that was an impressive victory for them. And then you go down here, beat Manly, who finished on the top 8. And they beat the Rabbitohs, who, that doesn't really matter because the Rabbitohs finished in second last. But this game was really impressive there, so they do have the ability to surprise. They have the ability to shock, but they just don't have the ability to maintain the performance that we are seeing when they do get that victory. Right? Now, you go over to the signings trackers here, and let's go have a look at who they signed for this year. So in 2024, they gained Latu Fainu from Manly and Samuel Fainu, Jaden Sullivan from the Dragons, Aiden Caesar from the Rhinos in England, Solomon Alamalo from Super Rugby, Solomon Fa'atape from the Brisbane Tigers, and Justin Olam for the Storm. So some good signings there. Latu Fainu, who I believe will be a star. Samuel Fainu has been really, really good there for the Tigers this year. Sullivan started out, didn't really kind of pan out there. They've got a lot of halves on their books, to be completely honest with you. And Latu Fainu and Lachlan Galvin are the 2 guys that they've really been focusing on there. I know they had Aiden Season and whatnot, but they ended up kind of putting in Galvin and Fainu together. But obviously we'll talk about what they're going to do in 2025 in just a few moments. Simon Amala's been fine. Tape's been fine. Justin Olam has had his moments, but again, you kind of knew this was what it was going to be with Justin Olam, where he is very, very diamonds at times, but also can be very, very rocks. He is getting on towards his career, and there's a reason why the Storm did allow him to go to the West Tigers, right? But their losses in 2024, obviously Luke Brooks went to Manly. He needed a different change. He needed a fresh start at a new club, and Manly was the perfect team for him alongside Cherry Evans, who were looking for and struggling for a 5'8" that could help them along. And I just feel like Luke Brooks' tenure was very clearly done. I've been saying for years he'll be better somewhere else, and that is the case, and I thought it would be better for the Tigers, and I think it was better for the Tigers. Even though they came last, I think that it still would have been quite stale if Luke Brooks had stayed there and been very clearly in regards to the last. David Nofaluma went to the Southern Red Devils. Tommy Talau to Manly. Dane Laurie, who's really good at Manly this year too. Dane Laurie, the Panthers, has been having a great time too. Atayasi James, Manly. Rua Ngatikaura to the North City Bears. Tukey Simpkins to the Dolphins. Brandon Wakeham to the Blacktown Workers. Tristan Riley to Rugby Union. Brandon Webster Mansfield to the Knights New South Wales Cup. Sean Bloor to the Storm, just worked out for them. Jake Simpkin for Manly, and Asu Kepoa to the Panthers. The big losses there, in context of the team, would be like Luke Brooks, who was their starter. David Nofaluma was their starting winger for a very long time. Tommy Talau was a part of that team strongly, and Dane Laurie. Everybody else was not so much. Maybe Sean Bloor, it just never really kicked on for him there. Brandon Wakeham was put in at times. Asu Kepoa was put in at times. But overall, there wasn't a significant enough loss there at the time, not looking back in hindsight, but at the time to suggest that they should have stayed and they should have still been there for this year. So I think they made the right decisions in regards to their roster post 2023. And then in regards to the gains, I do think they set themselves up for a very nice future. Aiden Caesar is getting on in age, but they need a bit more of an experienced half there to help the likes of Lachlan Garvin, Nathan Fainu and whatnot. And Justin Allen brought in a little bit more experience as well. And the other ones were all quite young there. So, and like I said, I thought Samuel Fainu was a really, really good signing. So I agree with the decision making on the losses and also the gains going into 2024. And although the results didn't go their way, I do like the list. And you go here to the contracts. Now, Adam Tway, he has got next year. Unfortunately, his injuries are really taking a toll on him. Aiden Caesar, I don't think he'll have much to do going forward. I think he was a part of this team and has helped this team, but I don't think he'll be a massive involvement going into the future. I'm not even too sure what MO means. I'm not even too sure what MO means, to be completely honest with you, but does it say here on this screen somewhere? Does it say what MO, what like the list of names and stuff is for the lettering? I don't think so. It doesn't give us, it's not really giving us anything here to say what that means. If you know what MO means, please drop it in the chat. Oh, here we go. Mutual option. Both parties discuss the option to activate additional years. Okay, fair enough. I'll let me click on the Tigers here so I'm going to see it. Where's Tigers? Bang. So mutual option for Caesar in turn 25. Not sure if the Tigers will take that. Alex Twell signed for multiple years. Alex Seyfarth until next year. Connery Sound until 2026. Like that. They've got a lot of contracts coming off at the end of next year, which means they can obviously search around. Isaiah Papali'i is obviously off to the Penrith Panthers. They have signed Jack Bird. We'll get into that in a second. Actually, let's just quickly focus on the incoming options and the incoming end of contract. So Bullet's still got till 2026 and a mutual option in 2027. A lot of these players that you can... I don't see any really big, massive star player on the 2025 area. Finopola has been decent enough. But there's not a massive star player. So far, Adam Dwight, he's the biggest name on the 2025 list. Junior Tip up to the Dolphins. Matamua, I do like Matamua. But realistically, they've still got a couple of years left of most of their players. Right? They've still got a couple of years left there. So I think that next year is really going to be a telling sign about what direction this club does take, especially with all their halves in Galvin, in Latafanu, in Trevelua, we'll speak about in a second, in Aiden Caesar, to be fair, and Jaden Sullivan. Because Jaden Sullivan is signed until 2027, sorry. He is signed until 2027. So it's not like they could just, get rid of him effectively, but they will have to start looking at their halves issue in regards to how many halves they do have very, very soon, because I can tell you that two guys of the quality of Galvin and Fainu aren't going to be necessarily interested in just waiting around to they're just not going to be They're not going to be interested. They know that they are better than just waiting around. In regards to the development list, Alex Lobb, 2025, Fa'agutu, Kitla Lali'i, Lachlan Brodolo, Solomon Salkuru, Tony Suka, and Solomona Fa'atape at the end of this year. I would probably bring him and maintain him. I'm not, as Tony Suka, I've heard the name before, not too sure. Salkuru, Brodolo, and Fa'agutu, I don't know anything about. Kitla Lali'i, only saw him very late towards the end of the season, and Alex Lobb was decent when you saw him at times, but has still got another year to go anyway in regards to thinking about that option. So the development list is fine. Nothing out of its world in my personal opinion, but is fine in regards to that development list there. Now in regards to 2025 gains and losses, for next year, they've signed Jerome Luai from the Panthers, Sonia Taruva from the Panthers, Jarrell Skelton from the Dogs, Royce Hunt from the Sharks, and Jack Bird from the Dragons. Their losses, Junior Tupou goes to the Redcliffe Dolphins, and Isaiah Papali'i goes to the Penrith Panthers, which is a massive sign there for Penrith. This is really mixed here. The gains are huge. Jerome Luai has really shown for the Panthers this year, in 2024, that he can lead that team, because Cleary has been out for quite some time. When he was at Samoa, he led his team alongside guys like Stephen Crichton and whatnot, but led his team to the final against Australia, where they did get beaten. But Luai was incredible throughout that World Cup. So I'm really liking that signing there of Jerome Luai. Sonia Taruva is also another signing that definitely should go well here. I do think that he hasn't got the same hype that he had originally, especially with the Fiji Bhakti and also the Panthers, but he does have the quality to succeed here. Jarrell Skelton at the Dogs couldn't push his way in there, has had his moments. Actually, I think he's playing in the finals this week due to the Joshua Carr putting himself out of selection. So Jarrell Skelton is an interesting signing there. Do think that he can go on to do some good things. Royce Hunt, massive signing there from the Sharkies. I'm surprised the Sharks did let him go, but obviously Adam Fanor-Blake is coming in for them there. Royce Hunt, not an 80-minute front row for sure, but is a guy that the Tigers can utilise to really push themselves up the field and win the middle. Right? The Tigers need to win the middle because they've had forwards, but I don't think that their forwards are as good as the hype led us all to believe. And I think that a player like Royce Hunt can really rejuvenate that forward pack off the bench or even starting for short periods of time and really get them going overall. And Jack Bird from the Dragons, I'm not too sure about this one. I really don't know. I'm not convinced on Jack Bird coming from the Dragons, but it's more experience. And I feel like they're just looking to go with a much more experienced lineup because Royce Hunt is experienced now. Not crazy, but is experienced. Sonia Taruva is experienced enough. Jerome Luai is a well-experienced player. Jack Bird, extremely experienced. Jarrell Skelton, obviously still quite young and not necessarily experienced, but bringing in that fresh hope. But the issue with the losses is that Junior Tupou, I don't think is a massive loss in the context of the Tigers, but Isaiah Papali'i is, because Papali'i was incredible at the Eels, has come to the Tigers. I don't think there's ever get his best work done based on the overall thought process of the club and the way that they handle things, and I don't think that he had a good time with the players that they've had. I think that being able to keep him would have been incredibly important with guys like Luai coming in to adjust his team and Royce Hunt to really get that pack moving. So I do think that is a bigger loss than people expect, because I think that he would have adjusted with the team and would have gone back to previous form personally. So I do think that that is a big loss there in Isaiah Papali'i. Maybe not so much in regards to the recent work he's done, but I think it would have really worked out with this team. So 2024 was, again, an unfortunate year, that's for sure. I do think there is promise in regards to 2025, don't get me wrong. It's just that this is a big issue. It's a massive, massive issue, because the player signings of Luai, Taruva, Skelton, Royce Hunt, and Jack Bird are not going to adjust this. That's not going to adjust giving up 60 points to the Eels, who came third last and could have come last and you won this game. That's not going to adjust that. This is promising. And this is promising. But you scroll and all this is not. It's not going to let me do it. But all that, Dolphins, Dragons, Panthers, Broncos, Bulldogs, Knights, Dolphins, Cowboys, Dragons is not. You know, all of this, and then this period here is just madness. They go and score 48 points against the Raiders and then give up 40, 40, 58, and 42. Even 28 is very high. 48 against the Cowboys. in this few weeks here, 40, 80, 138, 48, 58, 68, 78, 180, 208, 256. And then you even go to the Knights game, which is 34, and that's, you're effectively getting, and then this starts to slow it down a little bit, but you're effectively getting nearly 300 points conceded in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About 300 points. So I'm just really, really worried that there will be a bit of hype about the changes being put in place for this Tigers team to improve themselves, that's for sure. I am concerned about these guys not being enough to really adjust it enough, because this is a culture issue. That is a massive culture issue. So I am still worried. I think they've made the right signings. I think they have let go of the right people in regards to 2023 to 2024. I think Isaiah Papali'i is a big loss. I don't think Junior Tupou is that big of a loss. But going forward, there is a lot more hope. And that's how you have to see it, Tigers fans. I'm not a fan of the Tigers. You know, I'm a fan of another team. I will look and I'll analyse and I'll give you my truth and what I believe based off of my opinion. Do watch every one of your games. But there still has to be a lot of concern from opposition fans and also from within, so you don't get too high unrealistic expectations. But with that being said, there is a lot more promise than there has been in the past. And this is a big, crucial year for Benji. If you guys go and win 4 wooden spoons in a row, there is a big issue with keeping Benji around. Because although he's still fresh in his career, he's made these signings now. They are good signings. He needs to work with them. And it needs to work. They cannot have 4 wooden spoons in a row in 2025. They cannot do it. They are making adjustments, but they cannot do it. So Tigers fans, have hope, have belief. Hopefully things do change. Still have that little bit of concern though. But that's my review of the West Tigers in 2024 and a little bit of, preview into 2025. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Obviously, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new around here. Comment below your thoughts as well. I want to hear what you believe, whether you believe I was wrong or whether you believe I'm right here. And just let me know what your thoughts are in regards to the signings, the gains and losses from last year, this year, ladder positioning, and also development / the players, right? I'd love to hear all your thoughts. But I will see you guys next time. And get ready because we're going to do this for all 17 teams in 2024. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya!